Hello everyone and welcome to episode 31 of the YarnderWoman podcast. My name is Melinda. I am known as YarnderWoman on Instagram and Ravelry, and today is Saturday the 7th of November 2015 and I'm coming to you as always from Perth in Western Australia. This is part 1 of episode 31 because I have been away from the podcast for over a month and I have a lot to show you and talk about. So I will be having the episode split into 2, so you'll see those separately in YouTube. Thank you for your patience. As I said, it has been over a month. That wasn't intentional. I had printed out my show notes and everything ready to go 2 weeks after the previous episode. And then life just got in the way and things got busy. You know, it's that time of year where the weekends fill up all the time. I've travelled for work over to Canberra, the other side of Australia, and yeah, a lot has been happening, so thank you for your patience. I am very active on Instagram, so I know a lot of people follow me there already who watch the podcast, but if you would like to keep up with me on Instagram, as I said earlier, I'm also known as YarnderWoman over there. I do have my account set to private, so you'll need to request to follow me, and I'll have no problem accepting everyone as long as I can see that you are a fellow crafter. So Isabel on Fluffy Fibers often talks about if your Instagram profile doesn't show that you're a crafter, if you have yours set to private and you don't have any info in your little bio section, do flick me an email, or not an email, a private message on Ravelry, and just let me know that you've requested me, because if I can't see that you're a crafter, I don't accept it, because I've had requests from random people who are just trying to build up their following and whatnot, and I don't feel comfortable about having all my things out there for everyone if they're not part of the crafting world. Obviously, people I know who are not crafters, it's fine as well. So thank you very much for that. I'm so behind in video podcasts. I've been watching a few the last couple of days because I had a couple of days off after my most recent trip to Canberra. I've been listening to a lot of audio podcasts because I've been doing so much travelling and just my daily commute as normal. But I feel a bit behind from the podcast world in terms of the videos, so I'm going to have to catch up on that. Hopefully I'll get some time this weekend, so we'll see. But thank you very much. It's lovely to be back. Oh, and you may have noticed, if you hadn't already seen on Instagram, that my hair is slightly different. So, yes, a bit of a cut there. Maybe not quite a month ago, but we had some really, really hot days where it was 35, which I think is in the 90s, I think, in Fahrenheit. And, bearing in mind it's still only spring here. And with my hair at the shoulder length that it was, I couldn't really tie it up, and walking to and from work on my commute in the hot weather, I thought this is not going to do for summer, because we get up to the 40s in Perth for some of summer, which is, I don't even know what that is in Fahrenheit, 110, 120, don't really know, but yeah, a lot. So I had been thinking about getting it really short, so I decided, who cares, let's just do it. And I'm very happy with it, so it's been quite fun. When I first got home, I was brushing my hair and I was like, oh, there's no hair there, okay. But it's really good, and it's been quite easy to look after in terms of styling. Obviously, looks nothing like how the hairdresser did it, but that's how it is for me every time I get my hair cut. But yes, that's very fun. So that was a big ramble about my hair, but anyway, I guess I'm a bit rambly because I have to tell you some not very good news. Some of you will have already seen this on Instagram or a thread I've put up on the Ravelry group. My lovely mum, Kathy, who comes on the podcast a lot, and I know she's got a lot of fans out there, very sadly she's been diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's disease. So that's obviously been a huge shock and sadness to all of us. I think a couple of episodes ago I mentioned a family member's illness. That was what I was referring to. And at first I wasn't going to mention it specifically, but I feel because she is quite a big part of the podcast, I think it's okay. And the main reason I'm mentioning it here, and as I said on the Ravelry thread, is because next weekend I'll actually be participating in a fundraiser walk for Alzheimer's research. So I'll be going along with my motivation being, I've put on my profile for the fundraising page to help Mum remember all the joys of life for as long as possible. Because as I said, it is only early stage, and as you've seen her on the podcast, even last episode, she's still very, very coherent and cognizant and all that. So we just want to do as much as we can to keep the disease from progressing any further. So keeping her healthy in mind and body, and the funds raised from this walk that I'm participating in, that all goes to not only supporting people with Alzheimer's and their carers, but also to the research part, because there is unfortunately no cure at this stage. There is a medication that can help arrest the further progression. It doesn't work for everyone, so it's one of those things you just have to hope for the best. But yes, when these sorts of things happen, it can be, you can feel quite helpless in terms of being able to do anything. So I think it was just really well timed that this walk happened to be on, so I've signed up for it. I have already had a lot of support, both not morally, emotional support, as well as financial support. So thank you so much if you have already seen the thread and you've already made a donation. I really, really appreciate it. And look, I totally understand not everyone is in a financial position to be able to make donations. I'm not mentioning this as any pressure to anyone, but it is there if you would like to donate. I would really appreciate it. And even if you just send some good thoughts to Mum, that would be great as well. Now, the walk is on the 15th of November. However, if you are seeing this after that date, you can still donate. I think the donation page is open until January 2016. So if you still want to donate, then please feel free to go ahead and do so. That'll be really good. And I will, of course, let you know how I get on. I'm sure I'll have lots of photos from the event that I'll put up on Instagram, and I'll also put some on the next episode as well. So thank you very much. There will be a link in, as I said, there's a special thread on the Ravelry board, but I'll also put a link in the show notes and in the info section down here on YouTube. And I'd really appreciate it if you're able to make a donation. If you can't, that's fine. But anyway, yes. So keeping positive, keeping happy. Let's go and broach the subject. So today's brooch is one of the ones that I'll be using as prizes from the wonderful DKS Art and Design that designed our logo. So I'm wearing this one, and I'm looking over here because I've got something else to show you, because the t-shirt I'm wearing, let me just bob up. It's the YarnderWoman design from Hey That's Super. So a few episodes ago, I talked about the pre-orders that could be put through in a variety of colours. You can now buy the t-shirts and some tote bags, not in the whole 8 colours. I think they're now down to a few standard colours, but the design is definitely still available. So here it is close up on the red. Sorry, there's a bit of fluff on there. There we go. So that's on the red t-shirt. I've obviously got the white. And then you can also get some tote bags in a few colours. There we go. This one's all crinkled because I took it with me on my most recent trip for work. You might have seen it on Instagram, that I had it as just as my travel bag. So Hey That's Super on Etsy. There will be a thread in the show notes. They've Travis from Hey That's Super also sent us some Wolverine tattoos. There we go. So those will be prizes for some future giveaways. So have a look at that, and you get your own YarnderWoman supplies. Finished objects. As with this whole episode, which I've had to split into 2, as I've said, I have a lot to show you in finished objects. I feel very productive, and it's just awesome. As I mentioned in the last episode, or maybe even the one before, I'm participating in the Down Cellar Studio Pigskin Party, PSP, and that's had me very monogamous in my knitting, because I'm trying to finish things to get them in either for monthly challenges or just to, I guess, try and finish things quickly to get my points tallied. Not that the points matter till the very end, but it's just a good motivator for me. So I've got lots to show you. First off, I will show you a blocked version of the shawl I showed you in the last episode. This was the Wild Goose Shawlette. I'm just making sure I've got it around the right way. There we go. So this is the blocked version, and doesn't it look stunning, if I do say so myself? But of course, you know, my knitting is only a little bit of the joy of this. It's the gorgeous pattern and the stunning yarn. So as a quick reminder, this was the Wild Goose Shawlette by Paula Emmons-Feasley, who is Paula of the Knitting Pipeline podcast. The pattern was very kindly given to me by Twee of the Twisted Stitches podcast for my birthday. And this yarn is One Twisted Tree in the Late Night Light Bright colourway. Now, I have to clarify something because in the last episode, I was chatting to Mum and saying, oh, Late Night Light Bright is referring to Rainbow Bright. And, you know, I was asking Mum, do you remember that? And you remember me watching it. Now, I was chatting with Sarah from Young Geek Fibres, and she told me that she'd seen that, but she politely let me know that Late Night Light Bright is actually nothing to do with Rainbow Bright. It's to do with a toy that was popular in the 80s, obviously in the US. I'd never heard of it. And it was, from what I understand, you sort of put these coloured pegs to make pictures, but they actually glow. And that makes a lot more sense because these look like the sorts of colours that would be on that, and they don't look like Rainbow Bright, but I just assumed the Bright, B-R-I-T-E, was that. So completely my mistake, so sorry for leading you astray down the wrong bright pathway, but that's what that is. And anyway, it's a long chatty chat, isn't it? I think that's going to be my day. I've just really missed podcasting, and I keep writing things in my show notes. I actually type them into like the notes app in my phone, and then I don't always print them out, but I do when I have a lot to say, and I definitely have a lot to say today. I've got about 3 A4 pages, and then I recycle the paper because, you know, I don't like to use paper if I can avoid it, but when there's this much to say, it's necessary. So anyway, that's that. I definitely do want to make another Wild Goose Shawlette, so I'll be doing that at some point soon. This is something I made actually right before the beginning of October, but I didn't have it with me last time to show you. So this is a heart, and I made this for Damien for our anniversary. As I mentioned last episode, it was our 10th anniversary, and this is the pattern. It's the heart version from the pattern Gnome is Where the Heart Is. Oh gosh, is that the name of the pattern? It's terrible. It's a pattern where you can make little gnome heads. So it's sort of a teardrop shape, but then there's a version for the heart. So I will put a link in. I've just gone completely blank as to whether that's the name of the pattern. But anyway, show notes and in my Ravelry page. So I left the string on because that was just the tail that was left when I finished. But I left it on because it reminded me of one of Banksy's piece of art where it's a little girl reaching up for a heart balloon. So I thought that was quite cool. I used very colourful yarning in a base she's not going to carry. It was the one I was testing a little while ago that was merino silk and yak. And it's in the colourway that I named Themyscira, which is where Wonder Woman is from. And I think it's really cute, and I would definitely make these again. And it's funny, I was, you know, I always make assumptions that things will be quicker than they are, no matter how long I've been knitting for. And so I'm madly knitting this, I think it was the day after our anniversary, that's right, because I was travelling on our actual anniversary, and then we were going out for dinner that night. So I had that day off because I just got back from my trip, and I'm madly knitting away, and Sophie, the teen, my stepdaughter, came in and asked me something, and I was sort of half jokingly saying, I'm just trying to knit a heart for your father at the moment, leave me alone. So anyway, that's that. So I do definitely recommend that pattern. I do really want to make some of the little gnomes for Christmas, so they're on my up and coming list, so we'll see how those go. So another thing I've made is the Bonbon Shawlette by the lovely Isabel of Fluffy Fibres. I was so kindly given this pattern by Isabel herself, so here it is in all its glory. Isn't it stunning? So it's lovely and wide, so it's wider than it is deep, which makes it really good for wrapping around the neck. And I'll try and hold it up. It's got lovely honeycomb stitch here, which I think just looks beautiful. So the pattern is really good for any kinds of yarn, and I was going to use a variegated one because with that honeycomb stitch, because it's almost looks, you know, very, very 3D. Obviously it is 3D, but I hope you understand what I mean. Like it's you can see the layers, just like honeycomb. So what I decided to use though was Fibre Nymph Dye Works in the bedazzled base, and the colourway is a Rally of Red. So this is actually a self-striping with 3 shades of red in it. And so you can see here at the top where the pattern begins, you have actually got some quite wide stripes happening. And then as it gets wider, the stripes get thinner. I think this is really great how on this pattern section, it came out all in the light red. I think it looks really lovely. So I'm very happy with how this turned out. And yes, as it goes along, you can see the stripes look even at some points like they're just one row of a certain colour. And then when we got down the bottom here, it's gone really beautifully on the eyelet section again. So I think it worked out really, really nicely. What led me to choose this yarn in particular was with the PSP, the Downsella Studio cowl. You can get extra points, so you get points for your yardage, because it's all in yards, not meters. Get points for your yardage, but you can also get extra points for various things, including if you use sponsor products. So there are, I think, 8 headline sponsors, and then there are, I can't remember how many, several other sponsors, so different numbers of points for different things. And Fibre Nymph Dye Works is one of the sponsors, and I already had this yarn, so I thought, oh, good opportunity. And I'm so glad that I did, because it's just gorgeous, and it's not a yarn I would have automatically chosen for a shawl, but because I was, you know, looking for something I had that would fit the sponsor, it worked out really well. So I'm really enjoying that aspect of this cowl, the PSP, because it's, yeah, letting me to choose different yarns that I might not, you know, be drawn to for certain projects, and just going through my stash and having a good look at things. I'm really enjoying that. It's been really, really good. So I'm so happy to be participating in that. Thank you, Jana, again for recruiting me. It's also really fun because there's all these chatter threads, they call them. So everything's got football names. So there's the huddle thread, which is the chatter thread. And I've been talking with various people on there. And I've been learning a lot about American culture and football culture. And I learned the term tailgating. So in Australia, and I think in the US as well, tailgating means if there are 2 cars and someone's driving and they're like really sitting on the tail, like really up close to the car in front of them, that's called tailgating. But I've learned that tailgating is you go to the car park before the football game and everyone has like a picnic basically. And so you're eating stuff and having a bit of a party before the game even starts. So there you go, I learned something new. We don't do that in Australia. I think a lot of the stadiums, their car parks are not very big, and no, people just get them. They might get to the venue early and take their seats and have snacks, but not anything like that. So yes, very interesting. But anyway, here's the bonbon short. Oh, you're going to get a lot of chatting after me. So I highly recommend this pattern. Isabel is also having a knit-along for both the bonbon and her other gorgeous pattern, the Verdure shawl. And as with all of Isabel's knit-alongs, they're gentle alongs, so I believe it's running until Christmas. So you can just take your time. And I also entered this as my October item for the O Loops Harry Potter knit-along. I mentioned a few months ago I was thinking of joining that, but then I didn't end up getting any O Loops yarn just because the exchange rate killed me to buy from Australia to the US. But then luckily they opened up a Muggles thread, so even if you hadn't purchased O Loops yarn, you could still participate as a Muggle. If you're not a Harry Potter fan, Muggles are non-magical people. So I'm a Muggle because I haven't got the magic because I haven't got the O Loops Harry Potter yarn, so that's how it works out. But that's okay because I don't mind. I can be normal, you know, try. So for the October thread, the Muggles just had to knit something that I think represented magic or something. I can't remember still. Anyway, what I put as my knits, because it's got this gorgeous sparkle in it. There you go, because it's the bedazzled base. How I sold my project was that I wear this around King's Cross Station, and it just, the shimmers seem to come off some of the people that hang around between platforms 9 and 10, and then they keep disappearing. Weird. If you don't really like Harry Potter or know the story well enough, that won't make sense, and therefore I won't bother explaining it, because if you don't know it already, you're probably not that big a fan of Harry Potter. But if you are and you know it, you'll understand what I mean, and I think you'll like how I tied it in. So that's the verdure. Now, when I was knitting it, because I like to match my project bags to my projects, this is the one I ended up choosing. This is my gorgeous homespun house. Sorry, the lighting's not very good there. And it's a Christmas bag, and as you can see, it's got the gorgeous bells, a little teacup. Inside it's got the lovely red linen. Now, I was knitting this in early October, so it was really a little bit too soon to be thinking Christmas, but it just went so well, you know, it's red, it's shiny, and I just love this bag, so. But now, being November, all the shops have got the Christmas stuff out, it's definitely not too early, and who cares anyway. So there we go, that's that one. I've been knitting up some Christmas presents, continuing talking about Christmas. So I've mentioned many episodes ago various times that I'm in a book club, and we're going to have an end of year Christmas meetup, and usually we all read the same book, and then whoever is hosting the meeting and who has chosen that book puts on food and drinks that are thematic from the book. But for the end of the year, what we've decided to do is we're going to be meeting at an Indian restaurant. And it's a restaurant that's run by, now it's not the Hare Krishnas, I'm not sure what the group is that run it. But the way it works is you go in, it's buffet style, all Indian vegetarian, and at the end of the meal you pay what you feel the meal is worth. So that's a really interesting way to do it, and I think it's good because similarly with the Hare Krishna, if a person is not of financial means, you know, they can volunteer to perhaps do some washing up or something as a way of paying for their meal. But for those who are fortunate enough to be able to afford to go out and eat a meal at a restaurant, I mean, gosh, you know, I am not in any way wealthy. No, we're very comfortable. But, you know, we are so lucky. Most people in Australia, most people watching this, I'm sure, so lucky that, you know, we can afford to go out for a meal and that sort of thing. So I really like this kind of thing because all the money goes to the charity of the group that's running the restaurant, and it's just a lovely, something different, lovely, yummy food. And what we're going to do, instead of all reading one book, we're going to be all reading a book that is set in India. So choosing one ourselves and then just talking about it to the group, just for something different for the end of the year. So as I'm saying that, I'm realising it's in a couple of weeks, so I should probably get on and choose my book. I'm thinking of something by Salman Rushdie. I have read some of his work before, but several episodes ago on the Book Your Stitcher, Jeanette was talking about Midnight's Children, I think it was called, and that's her review said it was very good, so I might choose that one. I'll have to see, but again, I want something on audiobook so that I can keep knitting while I'm listening, so that will probably be a determinant as well, depending on what I can get. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about this now in the FO section is I'm making some little gifts for the other members of the book club. There are 8 of us all together, so I'm making 7 of these, and I wanted to do something knitting, but I wanted obviously something thematic, something that wasn't going to be too much work, because to make it for 7 people, I needed to be realistic. So I decided on bookmarks. How appropriate, I think. So this is it here. Now, you know, they're a little bit rustic looking in terms of, you know, you can see that's not quite straight, but So this pattern is called Lacy Waves bookmark, I think. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I'll obviously link it in the show notes, as with everything else. And it's just a repeat, so you can see this wave section goes up here. So you can make it as long as you like. You just choose different numbers of repeats. So I think I did 5. Yeah, I did 5 repeats of the pattern, so I thought that was a good size. And when I was blocking it, I actually sprayed starch on them as well to keep them a little bit stiffer. You know, they're still obviously floppy, but just a little bit stiffer to hold their shape. And I've done all different yarns, and I've got 5 here, so I've got 2 more to go. So this one is in opal yarn, and that is the colorway, I think it's Blue Whale in the Red Sea or something like that. It's obviously, the name is in German, and I have seen it written in English, but I can't remember what it is. But anyway, details in my Ravelry page. And that's another opal one. And that was the very end of my ball of the Van Gogh Cafe Terrace colorway. So that's been very satisfying to use up the last of the ball. So these two, both being opal, I'll be entering into the Very Little Twist and Stitch podcast opal knit along. So for October and November, they're doing an opal knit along. So opal is the birthstone of October, which is Marsha, Very Little's birthstone for herself, for her birthday. So anything knit with opal yarn, you can enter in. So go and have a look at that. Now these ones, this is in One Twisted Tree in the Petrichor colorway. This is nearly the last of my yarn of this colorway. You may remember much earlier in the year I knit a knit night shawl in this colorway, and it's great fun. This is not currently in the dye rotation for One Twisted Tree, but Danny said possibly in the future. She's not saying never, but it's just not available at the moment. This one, also One Twisted Tree and the Late Night Light Bright colorway, so same as the Wild Goose Shawlette. And this one, One Twisted Tree, in the 93 Diagon Alley colorway. And I love how the colours pooled. They sort of have, you know, a lot of these colours similar on this side, and those colours have pooled on that side. So I think that's great fun. So yes, 2 more to go. Haven't decided on the yarns yet, but I'll show you those next time. This is a big finished object. I showed you it in progress last time, and now it's finished. My Colour Affection shawl. So I'll just try and, well, there's the end. I'll move it across so you can see the mammoth-ness of it. And this is actually a little bit shorter than the pattern called for. So as you can see at the bottom here, just here, oh gosh, sorry, here, there's, I think I did about 6 rows of garter at the end. Now, if you're familiar with the Colour Affection pattern, it actually calls for about that much. It just says, you know, for like a few inches or a few centimetres of the final colour. Now, the reason I didn't keep going is because, as you can see how big this is, by the time it got towards the end, it was really quite heavy, even on circular needles, which usually, you know, bears the weight a bit more. But it was really heavy, and it was actually really hurting my wrists because of my arthritis. And I was, you know, trying to find ways to maneuver it so that I wasn't feeling the weight of it, but I couldn't get it to work in a way that was not painful. So I decided to end it early. And I think it's big enough anyway as it is, but yeah, ordinarily, because it goes from, you know, single colour into 2 colours, and then into 3 colours, and then a thick 3rd colour band. But that's okay. Now, I'm actually not even keeping this for myself. When I finished, I was like, oh, yay. Oh, I'm even showing it the back to you. Sorry. There we go. That's better. Single colour, 2 colours, 3 colours. I'm actually going to give this to a friend who doesn't watch the podcast, I don't think. She's expecting next year, early next year. So I'm going to give her this because I figure it can be very multi-useful. Multi-useful? Let's just coin that phrase. It can be used as a wrap or a blanket for the baby. It can be used as a modesty cloth if she's breastfeeding, because I know she likes modesty cloths for that purpose, and this would be something very nice. And then she can just use it as a shawl for herself. So I think it will go nicely from when the baby's a newborn to when she just wants an accessory. So I really hope she likes it. I think she will though. So the yarns I have used, this is One Twisted Tree in the Urban Hunter's Arrow colourway. Similar to the Petrichor colourway, this one is not in rotation at the moment with One Twisted Tree, but possibly in the future. The second colour there, it's a red and black variegated. That is also One Twisted Tree, and that is in the And I Was the Prey colourway. Now I have to say it differently. And I was the prey. And the third colour, the grey, which you can see here, and oh, hang on, that's not a part with all three. No wonder I couldn't point it out. So that's the grey there. So we've got Urban Hunter's Arrow, the grey, which is darkened by Berry Colourful Yarning, and then the other One Twisted Tree colour. So I think they work really nicely together, something really different. Again, not colours I necessarily would have put together before I was planning for the PSP, and it was, I believe I mentioned last time, I was just getting yarns out and they just happened to be next to each other on the table, and I went, there you go, winning combination. So yes, I'm very happy with that. It's very snuggly, very soft, and I definitely want to make more colour affections. Obviously, as I said, because of my wrists, it'll be tricky, so I figure I'll just have to take more time with them. You know, with this, as I was nearing the end, I was just really on a kick of, I want to finish this, and, you know, for the PSP, I'm like, yes, finished, more points, yeah. But I think for, you know, let's go with a more gentle approach, as Isabel does. So I'm thinking early next year, because I think at the moment it's a bit busy leading up to Christmas and New Year's and whatnot. But early next year, let's do a colour affection knit along, because a lot of people in the threads have been saying how, you know, the pattern's been in their queue for a while, it's something they'd like to do. So I definitely think early next year, that's something that we'll get going. I really want to make a couple of different combinations. I've got some yarn from Vine that I ordered from her quite a while back, in very tonal matching colours that I did initially think might be good for something like colour affection, so that's a possibility. I'd also really like to do one in what I'd call white stripes colourway, so the band, the white stripes. I love, love, love. I'm so sad they're no longer a band together. So my thoughts on that one is to have red, introduce the white, introduce the black. So I've had lots of shawls to show you because I've been on such a shawl kick. I've been completely off socks or pretty much anything else, though you'll see in Works in Progress that's lessening slightly. But one of the patterns I've been knitting very frequently is Knit Night, which I've knit before, and it's just really easy. So I've got three here to show you. The first one, now these are for children, so they're quite small. The first one is 93 Diagon Alley colourway by One Twisted Tree. So I'll bring it out. So, whoops. It's a shawl, it's a paid for pattern, so I won't give away the details, but you knit it like that as opposed to starting at one end. So here it is here. I think these colours look fabulous. Knit into a shawl. So that one. I really like the different colours that you can see here at the end. Such good fun. There's that one. There's this one, which is very fun. This is knit with the self-striping yarn. It's White Birch Fibre Arts in the Purple Haze colourway. So it's when it's knit into socks, you may remember I knit some way back when. It's got a band that's all rainbow and then a band of purple and white. There's also another colourway called Nothing Says SCREW, like a rainbow, which I think some podcasters call Nothing Says I Love You Like a Rainbow. And that one's rainbow with blue and white, so like blue like the sky, whereas this is the purple, which I love. And I only had a little bit left, so I just knit as much as I could. So I actually knit this one first and then knit this one to go with, to match the shape, the size. So here it is here. I love how there's lots of rainbow at the beginning there. And then it just spreads out. Some of the endings, the picots at the end are in the purple and white, and then they move into the rainbow, which is great fun. So I love this colourway. I really want to get some more one day. So those are for Christmas presents for a friend's little girls. And then this one was going to be for me, but it's ended up too small because I ran out of yarn. So this is the same as the first colour in my Colour Affection shawl, the Urban Hunter's Arrow by One Twisted Tree. And yeah, I just kept knitting till I ran out of yarn, but it's not long enough for what I wanted it to be. So this will go on the present pile, which is a great thing to have. So I do really want, because you know my normal colours, red, black, grey, purple, but I do have a few clothes that are in different colours, and that's why I was hoping to have this one for me, because it's got those lovely teals and blues. But I know Danny has a colourway out now called Rare Woman Claire, which is a reference from Outlander, and I think it's a more tonal, sort of this kind of a colour. It's not exactly the same, in that tealy colour. So I might have to get some of that, I think, because that way I'll have a whole skein and then I can make something for myself and keep. Yes, we'll see. This FO is for the October interception for the PSP, which the interceptions are monthly challenges where you can get really high bonus points. So for this one you had to make a mascot, so a stuffy, and that got you 100 points. And then you could also, for an optional extra 100, knit 3 accessories to go with your stuffy. So this is what I came up with. So this is her tail. This pattern is Beans the Cat, which I have knit before. It's a free pattern and I really recommend it because it's very easy. Now I actually doubled the number of cast on stitches and number of height. So the original one pattern is smaller, but I made it a bit bigger to give it some substance. So what I've knitted in is this green, so it's her dress. This is Infinite Twist yarn in the Helix base, and I've gone blank on the colourway. Oh, sorry, it'll be in my project page notes. But it's lovely tonal variegated greens, which is just great. You can see that's the bottom of Beans. You just pull it in at the middle, so it's quite easy to knit. This yarn is Knit Picks Swish DK. Lovely yarn. Have a look at that stitch definition. I mean, Infinite Twist is gorgeous as well. It's actually hand spun by ladies in China, so it's a way of providing employment for women that need it. So that's a really great philosophy behind that company. But yeah, this Knit Picks Swish DK came out really nice. Really like the gauge that this was knit with. I think I used a 4mm needle. So that's that. She's got a tail. As you can see, I used a little bit, because I only had a little bit left, of the Infinite Twist because, you know, that's part of her dress. So, of course, her tail's going to come out of her dress. And it's got a lovely dress. Now, the accessories that I did, I thought, what would YarnderWoman's cat wear if not a brooch? So, not that I'm keeping this. This is going to be a Christmas present, but still, YarnderWoman brooch. So, I've got a lovely brooch there. That was made with a pattern free on Ravelry. I think it was bow ring, because you can sew it onto a ring for your finger, but I've just done that there. I did a friendship bracelet for the tail, which I thought was a bit fun. And I did a stadium cushion, a little mat. So Jan and Nav came up with the idea of stadium cushions, so I know several people purloined that idea for their stuffies, because it's a great idea. So I think it looks very cute. The pattern I used for this is Nana's favourite washcloth, but this isn't cotton yarn, this is all wool yarn, so it wouldn't be used as a washcloth. It's just for the mat for beans. So very happy with that. I just used some little safety eyes, did some embroidery for the whiskers and the nose, and yes, I think that's going to bring some Christmas joy, hopefully anyway. And speaking of Christmas joy, this is something I knit for Mum that I finally finished. I've started it months and months and months ago, and it's Mum's Christmas present. It's the Okanagan Orchard shawl by the lovely Marsha of Very Little Twist and Stitch. So this is it, folded in half. This is how you block it, so I'll just sort of hold it up for you. Keep going. So this yarn is by No Makers. It's the Lace Weight Silky Gnome, I believe it's called. It's 80% merino, 20% silk, and it's just lovely. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Very soft, beautiful to work with, blocked out lovely. The colourway is Polyjuice Potion, also a Harry Potter reference. Now Mum doesn't know Harry Potter, but should love these colours, so that was my decision process there. Now the way it's folded for blocking, when you open it up, this is more how it would be worn. So you can see it's longer in the front and then shorter in the back. Now mine is a modified version, so if you look at the pattern page, you'll see it's actually much longer and it has a different border. So as I was knitting, I was thinking that Mum is quite petite. She's shorter than me, so I think she's 5 foot perhaps, which I think is about 150 centimeters. I'm not sure exactly, around that. And the pattern originally is very, very long because Marsha is very tall and lovely. And she was actually saying in her most recent episode of Very Little Twist and Stitch that her new shawl design, the Schmancy, which I'll be talking about later, she's making in different sizes because that way people of different sizes and heights can choose something that they like to wear. So for Mum, I thought I won't swamp her too much, so I made it shorter and I actually changed the border. So Marsha's pattern has a gorgeous leaf motif on the border, but I ended up just doing, I started with 2x2 ribbing and then I went into 1x1 ribbing, just to make it a little bit smaller and not so overwhelming on Mum's form. So I think Mum is really going to like that. I think it's going to be great for summer because I talked about earlier about, we have really, really hot weather in the summer, but in the evenings it's almost like desert weather. If there's no cloud cover, then it becomes freezing at night. So if you're out, which is lovely when you have the coolness of the hot day, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes the heat stays into the night. But for example, if you go out to an outdoor concert or an outdoor movie event or something, it can get very chilly in the night. So I think this will be perfect. Light lace weight, but with the wool and the merino and the silk, giving it the warmth that's needed. So that's very exciting, and I'm very happy to have that finished because, as I said, I started it quite a while ago, but it's just been one of those slow burn projects. I wasn't rushing, taking my time, enjoying it. Actually, my niece Emma knitted a little bit on it, only a few stitches here and there, but she's very cute. She's saying, when you give it to Grandma, will you tell her that I helped? Yes, I'm sure Grandma will like that immensely. And with that, that's the end of the FOs. I don't think I've ever had that many FOs. Now, obviously, I usually don't have as big a gap between episodes, so that's why. But yes, that's that. You'll be perhaps happy or sad, who knows, to know I don't have that many whips at the moment. I'm still going with the sort of monogamous knitting, which has been quite good, I think. I think it's, because previously I'd have, 3, 4, 5 projects on the go. And obviously you're making slow progress on all of them because every time you knit you are making progress. But by having only 1 or 2, obviously you finish things quicker, and I'm really liking that. So that might continue on, we shall see. But anyway, I will show you what I'm working on now. So my first work in progress is another Knit Night shawl. Now, how many did I have in the last one? 3, and I think this is maybe my 6th or 7th time knitting this pattern. And this is the first time it's going to be for me. Now, obviously the bluey green one was going to be for me, but then there wasn't enough yarn. So this one I think I'm going to be fine. Now, I am halfway through a row, so that's just great because I can't really show it to you, but I think you've seen it enough now that you know what kind of a shape it is. This yarn is the same colourway that I used as the 3rd colour in the Colour Affection shawl. It's darkened by Berry Colourful Yarning. So here's what I've got left. Now, as you can see, that's showing up. It's quite tonal, and it's actually, that looks almost green. It's sort of various shades of grey, and there is definitely one with a greenish overtone, but the lighting here is showing it up even more green than it is, so it's not quite that variegated. It does overall have that very grey look. So darkened is a very appropriate name for it, and I'm really loving it. I'm using 4.5mm needles, and that's giving me quite a nice gauge. Obviously it will loosen up a bit on blocking. I'm just going to keep knitting till I run out. So let's a substantial amount there, so I'll definitely get a few more rows in before having to cast off. Now you do cast off with a picot bind off, so you obviously need to leave yourself enough to have some room to manoeuvre. But I'm very much enjoying that. I took that and the Okanagan Orchard as my knitting when I went to Canberra early last week, and I knit a lot on this during the seminars I was attending. So it was a leadership workshop for some of the executives, and so there was a little bit of interaction, but it was mostly listening. So this was really good because it's garter stitch. I could just knit as I was listening. It was a really good way to engage the mind. That's a way that I learn is, some people do doodles or need to play with their pen or something. Some people just sit and listen, but the way that works for me is having something to engage that part of the mind that can wander off. Really helps to focus. So this was great. And the bag I've got it in is my Gothic Cupcakes bag from Bird Leg Designs. There's the tag, Bird Leg bag. Sorry, bags, not designs. So Gothic Cupcakes, how could you go wrong? And it was very appropriate for leading up to Halloween, which I'll tell you about my Halloween later on in the section. So it's not so, time thematic now, but who cares? I really like it. And a bag that is time specific or relevant is this Christmas bag. I know it's only November, but Christmas is coming. We might as well, or at least I'm embracing it because I'm knitting things for Christmas, so I have to be thematic. This one is by Suburban Stitcher. And so it's got great sort of candy cane type stripes inside, and then it's like blackboard chalk holly on the outside, which is what really appealed to me because it's very cool having just black and grey and red. So that's that. And I'm knitting some socks in this one. So I mentioned earlier that the last couple of months, all I've wanted to do is shawls. Obviously I did Beans the Cat as the Interception project, but other than that, it's just shawls. I haven't wanted to do anything else. I've just liked the back and forthness. I guess it's quite soothing, so with everything happening, that's just where my focus was. But now, socks are creeping back into what I'd like to make. And a few weeks ago, as I'll talk about in Spinning Me Right Round, I had a sleepover at my niece and nephew's house, my brother and sister-in-law's place. And my niece doesn't fit the socks that I made her last year anymore, but they now do fit my nephew. So I thought, well, I could make them both some socks for Christmas as their knitted item. But I think I'm going to do tube socks because that way they're not restricted by the heel placement, so hopefully they'll last a bit longer. So what I've chosen for my niece, this is Emma, who's been on the show a lot, is using Knit Picks Felici in the Gummy Bear colourway. I'm going to knit the Whiz Bang pattern by Sarah Shue, Mrs. Shue from Innocent Knit Podcast, but I'm going to knit it opposite. So the pattern is written for toe up. I'm going to knit top down because I'm just doing, as I said, a tube sock, so I'll just sort of keep knitting and then do a toe. Now to purloin another phrase, Prairie Girl Susie did the same. She knit the Whiz Bang socks top down instead, and so she called them the Bang Whiz, so I'll call mine, refer to mine as the Bang Whiz. So I'm only a little bit in. I also did, I can't actually tell you what ribbing the pattern calls for, but I did a 1x1 twisted rib, where I did knitting into the back of the knitted stitch and then a normal purl, and I really like how that turned out. I think it looks really good. So I did the ribbing for 2 of the colours, and I've just started the 3rd colour, and it's a little bit hard to see, but you can see the pattern stitch there, I think, there we go, from the Whiz Bang pattern. So you may recall I started a pair of Whiz Bang socks many months ago, and I did them toe up, and I was using the 93 Diagonale colourway. That is actually the one that the sample socks were done. I still have those, fear not. It's just I've put aside any whips other than the Okanagan Orchard because that was a gift for a set time. I've put away other whips until the end of the PSP down to Solar Studio Cal because whips don't count, so I'm trying to maximise my points. So I'll get back to those in, I think the PSP finishes in February, so early next year. So I'm really loving this. I think the colours are fantastic. I think they're going to be really great fun, and I'm happy to have them. So I actually I've done 60 stitches, which is quite big for a little girl, but I'd done 48 on the pair that no longer fits her. So I was initially going to do 56. And then because of the pattern stitch here involves slip stitches in some form, I don't want to give too much away because it's a paid for pattern, that was kindly gifted to me by the lovely Mrs. Shu. That's going to make it a little bit tighter because there's slip stitches involved. So that's why I thought I'd take it up to 60, which should then, you know, tighten it up a bit to the 56 I was originally intending. So fingers crossed on that. But, those two are my only whips. As I said, I'm trying to be a bit monogamous. We'll see how we go because I have got a few lovely acquisitions and of both patterns given to me and some lovely new yarn. So I'm looking to cast on something else, but I do want to finish those first. We'll see.